I've tried hundreds of Claude Code skills. In this video, I'm going to show you the 6 most useful and give you a full tutorial on how to set them up and configure them. All these skills add additional features and capabilities to Claude Code, and I guarantee one of them will be useful to you, so stick around and let's dive in. Okay, so the first skill that I have is actually a set of skills, and this is a full repo called gstack, which comes from Gary Tan, the president and CEO of Y Combinator. If you look through here, there's actually 23 different skills that are included in this kind of bundle that he's created, and this is effectively his solution to being able to create software products using Claude. Now, there's a lot of different skills that are bundled inside of here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll just explain this essentially for founders and CEOs, first-time Claude Code users, tech leads and staff engineers, and if you want to read through the whole kind of methodology and how he came up with it, it's included in the README here. I'm going to show you how to install it, but the key skills that he's mentioning to run here, at least to test it out, is the office hours skills, plan CEO review, /review, and then QA. Now, this is specifically designed for, again, people who want to build software products. So if you want to write code, if you want to build a startup, if you want to build something useful for even yourself or your mom, this is a great skill kind of bundle to download and set up. Now, if you scroll through here, you'll get a full list of all of the skills that are included. So you can see office hours, plan CEO review, investigate, design, QA only, etc. And again, this is built by Gary, who's kind of an expert in building software products and investing in them, given that he's the CEO of Y Combinator. Okay, so how do you actually set this up inside of Claude Code? Well, if you go to this link, I'll leave it in the description. There's a large paragraph here that you can just copy. So if we just copy this paragraph right here, we can just go and open up Claude Code. In my case, what I did is just went in the terminal and just typed Claude, and then I'm literally just gonna paste this inside of here. I also put auto mode on just so it can do everything itself. And go ahead and press enter, and you're gonna see here that what it will do is go download, set all of this up. We'll wait a second, and then I'll show you some basic usage. Okay, so it's just asking me to proceed. I'm gonna say yes, proceed, and then it should go with these steps. Okay, so it's almost done adding it here. You can see a list of all of the skills that's gonna set up for me. So I'm just gonna go yes, create the claude.md, and it's gonna list out all of the skills that are available. And then boom, it says, okay, we're all good here. We've created this list, and now I can start using them. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to get out of this, and I'm gonna change into a directory where I have some kind of coding project going on, or at least a new one where I wanna create something, and I'll show you the basic usage. Okay, so I just opened Claude here in a coding project I have, which is like some internal accounting software that I'm using. And again, we'll go through the quick start. So the first command we can run is the office hours command. So we're gonna go /office hours like that, and then we can describe what it is that we want to build in terms of a new feature, the overall application, and then gstack will take over. So I'm going to say, hey, I would like to build an internal accounting software for my YouTube business where I'm tracking invoices, expenses, and just generally kind of the financial health of my business. Okay, and let's see what we get. So you can see now it's kind of prompting me to ask, like, what's the pain? Why am I actually building this application? You know, I can submit this answer, and it's going to go through and start to understand better why I'm actually building this. Now, after that, we could go on and we could use the /plan CEO review, the plan engineering review, the QA command. I'm not going to show all of them because that's going to take a really long time. It could be a full video, but the point is if you're building something, you can use all of these different skills, and it's really going to make sure that you build something that's actually useful and that's validated rather than just a random vibe coded project. Anyways, that's gstack. Play around with it. It's very cool. Have a look at the repo. It's pretty well explained. Now let's move to the next one. Now the next feature that I want to add here is related to deployment. Now a lot of times I'm building apps with Claude Code, and then when I want to deploy them, I actually need to leave the terminal. I need to go buy a VPS. I need to spin up some hosting, whatever. Now, rather than doing that, you can actually bring that full functionality into Claude Code. So you can simply just say, hey, deploy my application. Hey, put it on this URL. Hey, spin up a new VPS for this API, and it will just automatically be handled. Now, this is obviously specifically for developers, but it's a really good skill, and I'm going to show you how to add it. Now, the way that I'm going to do this is by adding the Hostinger MCP server as well as the Hostinger agent skills. And in order for this to work, you will need a Hostinger account, and you're going to have some kind of VPS. Now you can actually purchase it directly from the terminal, but because I have a partnership with Hostinger, if you go to the website, I'll leave a link to it in the description. The plan that you're probably going to want to go with is the business plan here, which is as low as $4 per month. And with this, you're able to deploy up to 50 websites. You get a free domain. You can deploy managed Node.js applications. And again, we can connect this directly to Claude Code, which I'm going to show you how to do. So I can just say, hey, go deploy my site to this URL, which I'll give you a live demo of. So if you are interested in having a virtual private server connected to Claude Code that you can deploy to and use from the terminal, the way you can do this is just go to that link. You can put in the duration that you want. And then again, because I have the partnership, you can put in the code tech with Tim. and that will give you an additional 10% off any plan as long as it's 12 months or above in duration. Then if you want a domain, so for example, maybe I want my name, timbrasica.com or something, I can type that in here and I can actually get that 1 year for free. So anyways, I'm going to proceed with this, and then once I have the VPS, I'm going to show you how to connect all of the tools to Claude Code, where it can automatically deploy, set up, spin up the websites, etc. Now, once you subscribe to this flow, it's going to ask you, what domains you want to use, and it's going to try to prompt you to deploy a site right away. You actually don't need to do that. What you can do for now is just get out of this onboarding flow. You'll still have everything created, just waiting for you to kind of finish it here. And then what we can do is go over to API. Now from API here, it shows you directly how to add the MCP configuration to Claude Code. So we can literally just copy this config right here from the API page. We can go to Claude and we can say, add this MCP server to my configuration. Okay, and then I'm just going to paste in the config and then go ahead and press on enter, and it should be able to automatically change the MCP config to add the MCP server. Now, while it's doing that, you'll notice that it needs an API token here to connect to your Hostinger account. So if we just go here to the API page, we can generate a new token. So I'm just going to call this, Claude Code, give it an expiry of whatever you want. In my case, I'm just going to go never expires, and then I'm going to generate that and copy it, and obviously don't leak it to anyone. Okay, so it looks like it's all added here. Now what we need to do is we need to update this here to be our token. Now, there's many different ways to do this. For example, you can just directly edit this file here. If you know how to do that, you can set this as an environment variable, or what we can do if we're lazy and we don't really care too much about the security is just tell Claude Code to add the token for us. So I'm going to do that even though this is not best practice and not recommended, because I'm going to delete the token afterwards. Hey, can you please add this token to the MCP config? And then I'm just going to paste the token. Don't worry, I will delete this afterwards, and then hit enter, and it should add it for me and then connect. Okay, so now we just need to restart Claude Code in order for the MCP server to work. So I'm just going to type /new and then /MCP, and you'll see the Hostinger MCP is connected with 118 different tools that we can use. So what I can do now is just directly tell it to deploy a site or create a new VPS or whatever. So for example, I'm going to say, what can you do with the Hostinger MCP server? Give me a quick summary. Okay, let's see what we get. Okay, so you can see that we can create a VPS, we can manage snapshots, we can buy a domain, we can check the availability, we can DNS, whatever. So we can do all of this stuff directly now from Claude without actually having to go over to the UI. Now what I'm going to say is, what domains do I have available? And for your case, you should get one, right? Because if you signed up with that plan, you would have gotten one for free, or you can purchase additional ones from Hostinger. It's going to give me the list here, and then I'm just going to tell it to make a super simple website and deploy so you can see how it works. Okay, so you can see we have a few different domains available here. So what I can do now is something like this and just say, hey, can you create a super simple website that just says, hi, my name is Tim, and deploy that to timbrasica.com. Boom, press enter, and it should just be able to do that. And again, we now handle all of the deployment directly from Claude. We don't need to go to a third-party source, and we can just deploy a site, spin up a VPS, all from the terminal. Okay, so it says it's live. Let's go now to the URL and let's check it out and see if it works. And there, hi, my name is Tim, right? Super simple, that's just what I asked it to do, but it deployed it, it's live, it's working, all from the terminal. That is the Hostinger MCP server, and just a note that this is only gonna work once you register your domain. So what I actually did here is just from the UI, I went to my domains, right? I just had a look at the domains that I had, and I just made sure I registered this, because you do need to say who owns the domain, the contact info, all of that kind of stuff, and then you'll actually be good to kind of push the site, deploy it, etc. Anyways, let's move on to the next one. So the next skill I want to have a look at here is Firecrawl. Now, Firecrawl allows your AI agent to crawl and scrape the web, while Claude Code by default can access the web and it can search for things. It oftentimes will get rate limited, blocked, have a CAPTCHA pop up or something that it can't pass, and Firecrawl essentially solves all of those problems. So it will just be able to go and automate the web for you significantly better than the built-in features in Claude, and will be able to bypass any of those security features that the websites have. So for example, you could just scrape all of the HTML that's on a page, which allows you to automate more tasks, whatever, crawl things, and just search more efficiently than if you were using the built-in skills in Claude. Now, Firecrawl is free to use. You get a set number of credits, and then you need to pay if you want more. Now, in my case, I don't use that many, so I don't need to pay. But of course, if you're using it a lot, you will need to upgrade and buy a few additional credits. Now, the way that you can set this up is you can just make a free account on the site. I'll leave a link to it in the description. And then what you can do is just copy this skill file right here. So if you just go to the main page, there should be a skill file, and then you can literally just open up Claude. So let's go to Claude right here, and you can say, hey, can you add this skill for me? And then boom, you could just paste in the skill, go ahead and press on enter, and it should automatically add it for you, and then it will tell you anything you need to, what do you call it here, set it up, install, etc. So you can see if you actually look up in the skill definition here that it has this npx-y Firecrawl CLI thing. So it's actually telling it how to install it, which it should do automatically for you. Okay, so it looks like the skill is added. Now I'm just gonna go /new just to refresh the context here. And I'm gonna paste in a prompt just to demonstrate to you how this works. So I'm just gonna type /Firecrawl here to initiate the skill. I'm then gonna paste in a prompt. The prompt that I have is go to the YC companies directory and crawl every AI startup page and then extract the following. Now, while this might work with the built-in Claude browser, Firecrawl is going to do this a lot faster. It's going to do it at scale, and it's significantly better at crawling and scraping and giving you the data that you actually want. So if you want to do something larger, right, like get every single company, not just a simple web search or going to one single page, then that's where this really comes in and allows you to just more efficiently and more effectively actually grab context on the web, which can be very difficult to do. So anyways, I'm going to press enter, and let's see the result that we get. Okay, so this just finished. It scraped over 300 different pages, took about 10 minutes to run, and you can see that it gave me a full markdown file here with the 20 top companies. It talks about hiring, founders, what they do. If we scroll down, we can see the series that they're in. I think it talks about fundraising as well. I'm not sure. The point is, it did this all directly just from Claude Code without me having to step in. And in terms of Firecrawl, this used 312 credits. I now have 822 remaining, and I believe you get 1,000 credits per month or something for free. So I didn't have to pay for this, and I used maybe, 30% in one of these uses for 300 different pages, which, well, makes sense. Anyways, guys, that's Firecrawl. Let's move on to the next one. The next skill on my list is a very simple one, and this is just a Humanizer skill. Now, all this does is just make the output that Claude Code gives you sound more like a human. So you use this obviously if you want to write an email, or you're going to write a response, or you want to make a social media post, whatever, so that it doesn't sound like an AI generated this. Now, setting up this skill is super basic. There's a Git repo right here. I'll leave a link to it in the description. And if you just go to the Claude Code installation, we can literally just copy the 2 lines that it has right here. And we can just say, hey, can you add this skill? Here is the instructions, and just paste it, and it should just add it automatically for us, and then we can test it out. Okay, so it says it's installed, and then what I can do is just use the skill by going /humanizer, and let's actually just take this text, let's copy it and paste it here and see if it can humanize it. Nice, and then you can see it gives us the final rewrite, and it looks a little bit more human installed. It lives at this and runs as Humanizer. Point at any text and it'll flag the stuff that screams LLM, like m-abuse and recycled words. And notice it's using the word stuff, it's using like lower cases, right? It's dropped the kind of m-. That's very common whenever Claude Code is generating text. And again, super useful. I use this all of the time. That's how you add it. Now, the next skill I have for you is one of my personal favorites. It's not really a skill, it's more of just kind of like a tool that you can add that makes Claude a lot more useful, and that is Composio. Now, if you work in Claude a lot, you probably end up connecting a lot of your different tools. Maybe you connect your Google Drive, maybe you connect Gmail, maybe you connect Notion or Facebook ads or Meta ads or whatever. And when you start adding all of these different tools, it can actually bloat the context quite quickly in Claude. So Claude has 100,000 tokens, which is representing the 200 different tools that you've connected. It also means that sometimes the tools can disconnect. If you switch over to another machine, it can be a huge pain to reconnect all of them. And Composio effectively fixes all of those problems. What you do is you just connect Composio to Claude Code, and then inside of Composio, you can connect all of the individual tools that you want to use. And anytime Claude Code needs to use one of those tools, rather than having to have them all listed out and potentially making a mistake or viewing hundreds at the same time, it can just call Composio, search for the correct tool, and then get the response back. So not only is this more token efficient, but it also just works a lot better with higher accuracy because it's discovering tools on demand and just connecting them a lot easier rather than, having all of them already kind of loaded, installed, and showing up in the prompt every single time. So let me show you what I mean. If I go to Composio here, I'll leave a link to it in the description. You want to go to the For You one, by the way, because you can also use it to build AI agents. So from Composio, if you just go to the home page here and then you go to connect apps, you can connect all of the different apps that you want to use. So for now, let me just connect Gmail, for example. Let's go here. You'll see there's a whole list of tools, and then I can just connect my account, and I can actually connect multiple from this one page. Okay, so I've just added my Gmail here. You can see that it's connected. If I want, I can connect multiple, which is also a nice feature of this. And then you can just go through and connect literally thousands of different applications from one page so that you don't need to have a built-in connector, skill, whatever in Claude. You can just connect anything directly from here. Then what you're gonna do once you connect everything is just go to install. from install, you can go to either Claude Code, Claude Code, whatever. I'm gonna go to Claude Code, and then I'm literally just gonna copy this prompt that it has here. It also has my user API key, and I'm just gonna paste this here and say, hey, can you add this to my MCP config, or can you add this skill or whatever? And here, I'm just gonna paste this, and it should automatically add it for me. And I guess, yeah, it's gonna use kind of the terminal CLI or whatever to connect this. Now, one thing to note here when you're using Composio is that this is free to use. However, I think you get like 20,000 tool calls per month. And then if you go over that, you will need to pay. I've never gotten anywhere close to that. And I guess if you're using it super heavily, then it's like 20 bucks a month or something. But anyways, don't worry, it's quite free to use, I would say, compared to a lot of the other tools. So let's wait for this to finish and let's see if it works. Okay, so I finished installing now. I'm just gonna make a new session, and then you'll see that if I actually go Composio CLI, this is now a skill that's added to Claude Code. So let me use the Composio CLI tool here, and then I'm just gonna say something like, grab my 3 most recent emails, but don't expose any sensitive data, and just give me a summary of what they are. Okay, and it should be able to use this now. If it doesn't, just make sure you have Composio added to path. You can just tell, Claude Code to do that. You can see now it's gonna use Composio to execute this tool call, and it should give me the result. And this again is much more token efficient than having all of the tools loaded in at once, because what will happen is it will execute it, it will get the result, and then what will happen is the result will come back actually already parsed, so we don't get all of this random data that Claude Code needs to run through. And you can see that, boom, we get the 3 emails here, giving us kind of a summary of what they are, and that is actually what is in my email. Okay, that is Composio. Of course, this becomes a lot more useful when you add more tools to it. I'm just using a demo workspace for here, but in my real Composio, I have like 50 different tools connected, and it works extremely well, and I use it inside of pretty much all of my AI tools, because then once you connect the tools here, you can just go and you can connect this to any tool, and you don't need to reconnect all of the different tools here. You just go to Codex, you do the same configuration we just did for Claude, and now all of the stuff that you've connected is just connected in Codex. I get a new machine, boom, install it there. All of my connections exist, which is why I like this. But let's move to the last skill. So the last skill on my list here is the VibeSec skill. Now, what this says is stop vibe coding vulnerabilities into production. And essentially what this is a skill that will look for any vulnerabilities, any security issues in the applications that you build. So you should run this skill before you deploy something to production to do kind of a full audit of your code base and make sure that everything is secure and that you don't leak an API key or have unauthenticated access to your data or something like that. So in terms of installing it, I'll leave a link to the repo in the description. Like always, I'm super lazy, so I'm just gonna literally copy the instructions that it has for Claude Code, and I'm just gonna go here and paste this and say, can you please add this to my Claude Code skills? And we'll just let it automatically run and add it for us. Okay, so just added the skill right here and just said I need to restart Claude Code. Now again, I'm inside of my TIM accounting application, which is actually deployed right now. So what I'm gonna do is just run the skill, VibeSec skill, and let's see what we get for this repo. Now the idea behind this skill is that it's gonna be used while you're building the app. So while you can use it to audit the app, which is what I'm doing right now, you should install it before you start building, and then it's kind of teaching Claude Code how to actually think through all of the vulnerabilities and not make the mistake in the first place. So in my case, I didn't have this skill before. So now you can see it's gonna go through and have all of these steps, which is probably gonna take a few minutes to run. But the point is, once you add it, then you should just get more secure applications. Of course, you still wanna review the code, but generally it's a really simple thing to add to reduce a lot of the risks that you might have when you're vibe coding apps. Okay, so you can see there is a lot of vulnerabilities here that are detected in my application. So it's gonna go ahead and fix them now automatically for me. But again, good thing I ran this because I actually had this app deployed and there's all kinds of issues that I just didn't notice because I was literally just vibe coding this. So that is VibeSec, great skill to add and definitely something you need in the vibe coding era. So anyways, guys, with that said, that's gonna wrap up this video. Those are the 6 skills that I personally found the most useful. Of course, there are hundreds of other ones that are also very useful to add in Claude Code, but I guarantee one of these, will make sense in your workflow and that you should probably consider adding. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.